Hello, my dear friends. Jan of Jan Hicks Creates here. I am finally back with another YouTube video. You may have guessed, you may have seen my posts. I was deep in my stitching. And I didn't want to come up to do a video because videos take time and I wanted to get the stitching done. So that's the way it's going to be, I think, for probably the foreseeable future, if not the rest of whatever my career means. Career, can I call it a career? Anyway, when I get into the stitching, I get into the stitching. Not a whole lot happening here otherwise. Yeah, same old otherwise. I do get my second, excuse me, got the burps here. Of course, as soon as I start the video rolling, right? I do get my second vaccine shot on Wednesday, so I am looking forward to getting that done, and then I'm going to make a hair appointment. COVID hair is real, but I have been stitching like a mad woman for days, and I am proud to introduce to you, it doesn't quite fit on here completely, wow, Florigraphica. Intensely in love with this. So this started as a stucco stencil thing that I saw on Pinterest, and I said, you know, I think I can do something with that. I think I can adapt that to cross stitch. I think that would be awesome as a cross stitch piece, and I agree with myself. So, Weeks Dye Works, Classic Color Works are the Floss. The fabric is XJU Design 40 count in old linen. Definitely a brown. In some lights it looks gray, but it is definitely a brown with pink overtones, which really allows these reds and these pinks to sing. Some of the greens, this is Joshua Tree, the darker green here on this motif. So what I did was mirror, kind of, to get some repetition, that's the word I'm looking for, and symmetry. So I repeated the colors here, here, and here, as well as the pots. The main color in the big motifs of flowers is red currant with cinnamon toast. Red currant and cinnamon toast are both Classic Colorworks. And then the green in these three is also, that's Joshua Tree, that's also Classic Colorworks. And then they all have the same little woven basket pots, which are a combination of rust, which is in the border, and straw, which is what is, no, straw hat, which is what's in the flourish borders. I'm not sure what to call that. Rust is, I believe that's Weeks Dye Works, and straw hat is another Classic Colorworks. And then for the other three big motifs, broom tree is a Weeks. That is the brighter green. And then it's either bunny honey or, again, cinnamon toast. In here, and cinnamon toast and bunny honey are both Classic Colorworks. The ones going across the center, we have a mixture of cinnamon toast and bunny honey, with sage being the green. Sage is Weeks Dye Works. On the border, we have sage again and red currant. Little tiny stitches. So for the most part, well, I can't say that for the most part. I'd say it's half and half. You know, when you're using variegated threads, you're supposed to stitch once. Well, you're not supposed to. You can do it any way you want, right? But to get the most out of the variegation, you stitch one stitch at a time. So you cross, do both legs of the X, and then move on to the next stitch. I say I did it half and half because some of them, the variegation or the tonality wasn't so much that it would have made a difference. So my straw hat, which is what these containers are, I went back and forth. I didn't worry about doing one stitch at a time. Broom tree, you can still see there's quite a bit of variegation showing, tonality showing, but I went back and forth with that as well. Red currant, I really wanted to show the change in red currant. So I did one stitch at a time for the most part on red currant, and I think that is just a scrumptious color. Joshua tree, the darker green, I think I went back and, no, I think I did one stitch at a time because I really like the change in the tonality of that as well. Sage, I did one stitch at a time. Cinnamon toast, which is the brighter pink, I did one stitch at a time. It's a very subtle difference, but I think it really adds some delicious depth to the colors. And Bunny Honey, I think I went back and forth, even though there is a bit of lighter and darker in that as well. So you can do it whatever way you're comfortable with. As you can see, like I said, with Broom Tree, you still see the tonality of it, but sometimes it shows more. Like I said, red currant, I really wanted to see the tonality of it. This turned out beyond my wildest expectations, can I say? I love it. I think it's perfect. The fabric, I love it, even though the darker green in some of these is a little bit faded into the fabric. I don't mind that. I think, you know, I had my chorus teacher in junior high, Mrs. Suter, sorry about that. She had a word to describe our singing when she wanted it to be really rich and full-bodied, schmaltzy. I think this is schmaltzy. Now, other fabrics you could use, definitely any cream with pink overtones, like Weeks Dye Works linen color, I think would be beautiful. Any pale pinks. I wouldn't get too strong on the pink because you don't want to lose the pinks and the reds. Gold, any of the golds that's not going to drown out. And even, I mean, my containers here, my flourish borders, whatever you call these, those are a little bit faded as well. Again, I'm okay with that. I wanted the flowers to shine. So like something like vintage country mocha, that would be nice. Any of the golds without it being too strong of a gold. I would stay away, of course, from any blues. Grays, browns would be good as long as it's a lighter brown. And again, this with the pink overtone really works well. But yeah, I think there's a lot of ways you could go. This is, like I said, 40 count. The finished size is about 10 by 10 and a half. This is almost square. I think the stitch count is 227 by 216. So it's almost square, but not quite. So I think this is a nice size. I will be getting this framed. I did provide the DMC conversion in the chart as well. Be aware though, of course, DMC isn't going to give you this schmaltziness. It's not going to give you the depth of the change in the colors. Also, while some of the colors I was able to get a pretty good match, like the Rust 938 is a pretty good match. I don't remember what the number is for the straw hat, but the DMC for that is a pretty good match. The other ones are kind of just an okay match. There wasn't an exact match, you know, all those DMC colors you think there would be. No, there isn't. So just be aware of that. It's not going to look exactly the same in the DMC. It'll still be gorgeous. My design is gorgeous. I'm sorry. I love it. But just be aware, if you choose the DMC, it's not going to look exactly like this. So that is really what I have been spending, I mean, literally all day on. I would say a few of the days I was able to get about 1,500 stitches in on this. Some days only 800 or 900, but my goal was at least 1,000 every day, and it still took me pretty much all of those 2 weeks that I've been gone to get this stitch. So even though it doesn't look like a lot of stitching, it is a lot of stitching. So I am going to roll this baby up. Oh, and can you see it? Where the hole was? After ironing, several of you said probably after ironing. I did not wash it because it is overdyed flosses. I did not want to take the chance. Even though most of the overdyeds do say they are color fast now, I didn't want to take the chance. But you can't see where the hole is, can you? So this I will be getting to the framer at some point in the not too distant future. I'm going to roll that up and stick it out of the way. Now, because I have been stitching mostly on that, I don't have a whole lot of other stitching to show you, except Serendipity. I did get release 3 for Serendipity done. So that is, of course, that row there. That came out on the 15th. And I am still loving this sweet little stitch. Again, Serendipity is Fat Quarter Shop's annual charity stitch-along fundraiser for the Make-A-Wish Foundation in South and Central Texas. They ask for a donation of $15 for the pattern. You can download each section for free from their blog, and I will be linking that down below. But they ask for a $15 donation, and of course that does go to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Moda Fabric and Fat Quarter Shop will be, I know Moda is matching. I don't know about Fat Quarter Shop, I don't remember. All the details though are on their blog, so I will link all that below for you. All right, and really that is all the stitching. Now I did get some knitting in last night. Let me get this back out. The Nights That Say Knit Mystery Knit Along. First clue came out yesterday. Perfect timing for my life, at least. And we watched Monty Python and the Holy Grail last night as I was starting this. So this is a mystery knit along by Mary Anarella, Lyrical Knits on Ravelry and other places. Let me, I don't think I showed you. Did I show you? I don't think I did. Let me get out all my little bits and pieces. I got everything wound. I got to the storage unit and found my yarn. This was an easy one to find, thank heavens. That's attached to that. So I had a gradient of Miss Bab's Yummy 2-ply toes. So that's what I'm using. I have yarn going everywhere, but that's okay. Okay. I'm gonna put you aside for now. So this is the main color. And so she told us that we needed 2 skeins, 2 full-size skeins of fingering weight yarn. So this is Miss Bab's Yummy 2-ply. And then 6 mini skeins of 100 some yards, I don't remember. And she did recommend, of course, Miss Bab's. I happen to have Miss Bab's in my stash, a gradient set. I haven't the faintest idea how I'm going to show this without it rolling everywhere through all the cat fur, which is not something that thrills me. Sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna do it like the first 3. So these are grays, as you can see, heading towards, so this is the last gray, heading towards a tealy blue. What a surprise. So then we have this, this, and this. Pretty, huh? With this being the main color. So what I got started last night, I only got started on the beginning and part 1. So this is supposed to be a rectangular shawl. So the beginning was just some garter stitch. We had an increase row. Well, actually it's increases in every row. But this is the first like stitch pattern section. It's called the newt section, and I assume these little guys are our newts. So very interesting. Yeah, once this gets blocked, that'll open up like that. So I don't want to say I doubt very much, because I'd rather put a positive vibe out there. Timber goes all the silks. I'm gonna try my darnest to stay caught up. It's gonna be a lot. But I plan on knitting at least a half hour every day, if not more. I've got to find more balance in my life, basically, to include knitting, because I do love to knit, and my hands miss it. My soul misses the rhythm of knitting. Hold, please. So, yeah, that's all the stitching and stuff. But I still have piles in front of me of haul and giveaways and other interesting finds. But first, let's go shopping. All right, so we're going to start today's Let's Go Shopping with a little store that is near and dear to my heart. So this is one of my announcements. Get this centered here. I did open an Etsy shop. Jan Hicks Creates now is on Etsy. I decided to, you'll see, on Etsy since 2014, but only 15 sales. I made jewelry for a while. I did kumihimo, which is a Japanese braiding technique with beads, and, well, I did it with beads. It's not traditionally done with beads, but anyways, I did have a jewelry store on Etsy for a short while, but I closed it down fairly quickly. I didn't have any sales on it. I had my website for my sales was my main source. But anyways, that's why it says since 2014. But I did open an Etsy store, and many of you are already aware of this, simply because I felt, number one, I want to reach more people. And this, I think, gives me a way to reach more than I might otherwise with just my website or my YouTube channel. And it also gives those of you who may already be on Etsy, not necessarily want to create another account on another website. It gives you another outlet for buying my products. It is all PDFs, of course. I don't have everything up here yet, but I have most of the most recent ones. So, yay, Jan Hicks Creates on Etsy. So that's one of my announcements. But I do want to share another, let's see, there we are, another store with you. And that is Cliffside Stitches. You can see Cliffside resides in San Diego, California. Traditional designs for modern times. We're going to go to the About page and read a little bit about the owner. The owner's name is Madeline. She says, I'm a needlework designer and stitcher, specializing in modern interpretations of traditional motifs around the world. And I do love, whoops, went the wrong way. I do love her style and her incorporating stitching and motifs from different regions of the world. Most of her designs are larger, although not all of them. Although I do think you could split them up into smaller ones. So I'm going to do most recent, although I have to say, it's not the perfect filter. It doesn't seem to work perfectly. But anyways, you know, her designs are some that I look at and think, boy, I wish I had thought of that. I love them. I love the colors. I love, of course, it's little blocks. A lot of them are little blocks, and I think they're just gorgeous. So you can see she took, I'm not sure which part of this motif, these motifs, and made it into a bookmark. So you can, you know, mix and match parts of them to make smaller designs if the big ones kind of overwhelm you. That's part of that. I'm not sure what other parts she took maybe in here. But anyways, this one I think is stunning. Scrumptious. Yeah, I could stitch that if I weren't already deeply embedded in all of my own stitching. That's gorgeous. That one is called the Persian Sampler. Heritage Flowers. Pretty, right? Gorgeous colors. And of course, all the little blocks. What's not to love? Oh, that's interesting. So she's showing you different colorways. I assume it's charted. Oh, yeah. She probably has the color listing. Oh, that's interesting. Look. Where they came from. Very cool. And again, taking some of the motifs and making smaller. Very, very cool. I like that. Medieval Egyptian Sampler. Sure, so she's getting these motifs from either their textiles or some source online that has the embroidery patterns. Very nice. Let's see if she does different colorways with that one. Again, the littler piece, another littler piece. Don't mind my notifications coming up. There's a lot of them with all the posting of my new pattern. Palestinian Sampler 1. Really pretty. I love that she shows you smaller things you can do. That's very smart. So that's this in here. That would be a nice little card too. That would be a good bookmark. So yeah, that's a great thing to do. So this one is all mostly black work type of work. And again, taking a smaller one. Nice. Hebrew. Oh, cool. So this comes with both Shalom and Mazel Tov. Very cool. In both the Hebrew and the English. Nice. I mean, I could spend hours just going through her designs, and like I said, I look at them and think, oh, I wish I had thought of that. Look how pretty that is. That little bird. Very cool. Nice. That is the Greek Islands Sampler. Norwegian Sampler. Blackwork flowers. I'm not big on blackwork, but that would be an interesting thing to do, wouldn't it? I would change the colors most likely. Oh, look, there's your black work. And she has your different color palettes. Very cool. Let me see. Oh, and that's neat, isn't it? Neat, neat, neat. Let's see if she says. A few alternate color options are suggested in the PDF, which also includes charts for the small projects adapted from the full design. So that's great. She gives you those kind of alternatives. And that's only $6, so that's a great deal. This one is kind of more Art Deco, Art Nouveau, she calls it, French Art Nouveau. Very nice. And you'll see that some of these motifs seem awfully familiar. You know, there are online a lot of from the vintage, like I've told you before, late 1800s, early 1900s embroidery books, cross-stitch books. There's all kinds of resources. DMC's books, all out there in the Creative Commons license arena that, quite frankly, a lot of us pull from. So you will see a lot of motifs that you've seen before. But of course, that's what samplers are, right? Small blackwork chai star. That's interesting. Samplers are just using, right? The girls used motifs. If they went to the school, they shared motifs. They all came from the same instruction booklets. And that's basically what these are. I love that peacock. I haven't seen that one before. That's very cool. So yeah, you will see a lot of things that look familiar because, quite frankly, we're all pulling from the same resources. It's just our own spin, how we build them out, design them, color them, maybe make small changes to make them our own. At least that's what I try to do. Very cool. So these are like bookmarks. I love the Hamza. Someday, I will even have to stitch a Hamza. I love it, love it, love it. Like the pomegranates, you're going to see the pomegranates on all kinds of different designs, right? That's very popular. And the borders, you know, the border motifs are ones you see different places. And it's how we design them, how we add them to a piece, how we color them that make them our own. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Look at those peacocks. Those are wonderful. Oh, he's a fancy bird. Fancy bird. So what do you think? Do you like this? Do you like this style? I think she has a great eye. Lots of black work. She obviously likes black work. She's getting into some Quaker here. She's calling that Heritage Stars. That's really pretty. So again, Quaker, of course, you see repeated everywhere. She's saying where she thinks the motifs came from. I'm not sure that can be narrowed down that easily. Quite frankly, some can, but I mean, this type of star is seen throughout the Quaker styles. This is pretty. Italian Renaissance sampler. Of course, it's the blue and the gold. Kind of like my Narnia, huh? Gorgeous. So anyways, I hope you like that little spin through Cliffside Stitches. Go ahead and hop on over to her shop. She's only been on Etsy since 2020. Give her some love. Show her some support. Hope you found something there that you have to have. All right, back to the regular video. All right, so 2 stores today, although I know one was mine. So that was fun. I'm enjoying the thought of having an Etsy shop, and like I said, hopefully reaching other people. I will say that I sent emails. There are 2 distributors that I'm aware of that handle people that only do PDFs. So they're basically a print on demand for shops. So I reached out to them and I didn't hear back from either one. So that was rather disappointing, because I do want to expand my business, but I'm not in the position to handle hard copy. So it came to my mind that I have another option, and this is my other big announcement. I am going to be on the Silk app. So if you recall, the Silk app is the one that was created by the Werkstatt für historische Stickmuster in Germany, Uta and Dorothee. So I reached out to them and asked if they would be, because they're starting to get more and more other designers, right? That's where Jacob de Graaf of Modern Folk Embroidery has his patterns now. So I reached out to them to see if they would be interested in carrying my patterns, and they said yes. Yay! We are in the process now of getting my patterns into the app. There's a whole thing that has to happen with Apple, so we are waiting on that for approval. I will be sending them Florigraphica here today as well. I like this option because, so as you know, all of my patterns are compatible in Pattern Keeper. But for those of you, but Pattern Keeper at this point is only available for Android devices. So for those of you that don't have an Android device and don't want to get an Android device, you will now have the option of buying my patterns through the Silk app and using them in Silk. And Silk has all the same functionality as Pattern Keeper. So there is that option. So I will let you guys know when that becomes available, but I'm very excited about that. Hopefully it will be soon that those will start showing up on there. Okay. So there's those. I want to go now. I did record a tips and tricks for you. I have been getting some questions on how to figure out fabric. And also one of you asked on my last video about advice on, on my last video, I think it just came in today, on how do you know what needle to use for different fabric. So we are going to look now at the cross-stitch fabric calculator on the Yarn Tree app. So come with me now and we'll check that out. All right, so my tips and tricks today, I thought I would show you how to use the cross-stitch calculator. This particular one is by Yarn Tree. It's on the Yarn Tree website. Yarn Tree is a distributor, a cross-stitch product distributor, and other things, but they have this calculator on their website, and this is one that I often point people to. If you have the X-Stitch app, the X-Stitch app has a calculator built in, and that's what I always use. But this one is just a free one out there available on the web, so I often point people to it. And I know it can cause some confusion for people that maybe haven't used it before or are new to stitching. So I thought I would go over it a little bit with you. I often get questions about how to figure out what size fabric. So let's start. Graft size. So this is the size of the stitch count, basically, of your piece. So I am going to put in just random 85, let's see, by 90. So a smaller piece for me. Fabric count. Let's base it on a 14 count fabric. So 14 count Aida. 14 threads per inch. Now, number of threads each X covers. As you can see, it says Aida is 1. So one of the Aida squares is considered 1. And linen, or another even weave like Lugana, Linda, Jobelin, is 2. So we're going to leave it at 1, 14 count 1. If this were 28, I'm going to show you what happens with 28. So we'll leave that for now. 14 threads per inch. Each X covers 1 square. Extra fabric on each side for border and extra fabric on each side for finishing. So you often hear that people allow 3 inches for their extra fabric. What they are allowing for is the border. So that means how much fabric do you want to have showing between the edge, say this yellow box is your stitching area. How much do you want to have showing of your fabric between the edge of your stitched area and your frame? Do you want to have a lot of fabric? Do you want to have 1 inch showing? Do you want to have more? Do you want to have less? That's what you would put in there. I'm going to change that to 1 inch or to 1 inch. Now, the way I usually decide is I will look at the cover photo. If the cover photo has a framed piece on it, I will look and see how much fabric they left and whether I like the look. Some people like a lot of fabric. Some people only leave 1/4 of an inch showing before the frame. Or if you're putting it on sticky board, how much do you want to have the fabric showing and the rest is wrapped behind the sticky board. But it's basically how much fabric is showing. Another thing I take into consideration is how pretty is the fabric. If it's really pretty fabric and I want to show off more of it, then I will leave 1 inch. But oftentimes I only leave 1/2 inch and under. I'm going to leave that 1 inch though. The 2 inches then, extra fabric on each side for finishing, is how much fabric do you need to have that is folded to the back, that is used for lacing, mounting, some way of fixing the fabric onto whatever your mounting piece is. That is the fabric that is not showing. So it is extra for finishing. So here's my altogether 3 inches, and that's 3 inches on each side. I don't have to worry about anything more than that though, because the calculator takes care of it. That's the only information I have to put in. Calculate size. So the stitched area, 6 1/8 by 6 3/8. So that is based on the stitch count. The fabric, however, should be 12 by 12.5 inches. And then this calculator says, okay, if you are using that fabric, then we recommend a size 24 tapestry needle. We suggest using 2 strands of floss, and for back stitching, 1 strand of floss. Now, you may decide that you like 3 strands of floss. Maybe you like more coverage. This is just their suggested use. I'm going to change 14 to 28 and calculate size again. Now, isn't that, oh, nope, that's because I didn't change that to 2. Let's change that to 2. Calculate it again. And it has the exact same dimensions, 6 1/8 by 6 3/8, 12 by 12.5, but notice that they changed the needle size from a 24 for 14 count Aida to a 26 for 28 count linen or even weave. That's interesting. I would think you would still use a 24, but you know, everybody's different. Maybe they consider the whole size different. I very rarely use a 24. I always use either a 26 or a 28. That's just me. So let's go ahead and change this. So keep in mind that was 6, what was it, 6 1/4 by 6 3/8 and 12 by 12.5. I'm going to change this to my favorite size of linen, 40 count over 2, and I'm still going to leave that 1 and 2. Now let's look at the size. So that size goes down 2 inches. So you get whenever you go up higher counts of fabric, you get a much smaller piece, and they changed the needle size to 28, 1 strand of floss for stitching, 1 strand of floss for back stitching. Of course, for back stitching on 40 count, I would want to be finding a thinner, more like a sewing thread. Vicky Clayton has a new fine cotton floss out there that would be good for back stitching. So yeah, but that's how that changes when you're changing the count of the fabric. Let's go to 28, what we had before, and go over 1 thread, leaving everything else the same. That makes it even smaller. So, and again, they're going to 26 tapestry needles. So even though you're only going over 1 thread, they're saying going back to a 26 tapestry needle. I would differ on that with them, even though they're dealing more with the size of the hole. Going over 1, I would go to a 1 strand or a 28 needle. Anyways, I hope that gives you some ideas of how this works, things to think about, what everything means, and the fact that you get a lot of information, at least on the Yarn Tree one. The tool, the calculator tool in the X-Stitch app does not give you this information on the size of the needle and the strands of floss to use. But it is a good basic. If you don't need that information, it's a great tool, and it's always on hand because it's in the app. And the app is on both my phone and my iPad, so I always have it with me. Anyways, guys, I hope you found today's tips and tricks useful. Let me know if you have any questions. Like I said, I usually use the one in my X-Stitch app, but if you are just starting, and they have a lot more information in the Yarn Tree calculator, so I hope you found that useful. But let me know if you have any other questions about that. I think now we're on to other stuff, all these other piles in front of me. So let's see. Yep. Okay. I want to share with you first some antique finds that I acquired this week. Now, I did not go to an antique store, although I had big plans. I have big plans to get to antique stores in this area, but not yet. But this was on Facebook Marketplace. And I've just started kind of looking through like the estate sale, yard sale type things, just to see what's out there, and the cross stitch things that are advertised there, kind of as a substitute for getting out to antique stores at this point. And I came across what I think are 2 pretty darn cool finds. They are makeup compacts with stitching on them. I'm turning this around because I'm not sure how this goes. So this is one. This is actually Petty Point. Isn't that gorgeous? As you can see, it is full coverage. And I could only see it, this was on a table, and there were probably a dozen different little makeup compacts, with the powder stuff. You can tell I don't use it. Right? I don't know the proper names. But I saw these 2 and was like, oh my God, I think those are stitching. So I will be reproducing these. This is the first one, and I think this I will do just as is, with the kind of really pretty border around it, and then the bouquet, the nosegay inside. I will not make it full coverage. The beige, it probably was originally a cream background, I will leave out and just have the flowers and this border. I may stitch it on silk gauze. I had showed you the design by Maureen Appleton, the Heart's Content, that I have. That's my oldest whip. I plan on getting that out this week, and I'll record a video, kind of a Stitch With Me video with it. I want to see how it feels to be stitching on this silk gauze again before I decide whether I want to stitch this on silk gauze to make it small. Regardless, of course, you'll be able to stitch it. It will be just normal cross stitch, and you'll be able to stitch it on whatever you want, so this finished size will be whatever you want. But I am tickled pink with that. I don't know which way it goes. And then there's this one. This one is definitely on a silk, and it may be silk floss. This is just like tent stitch. I don't know whether you can see that. I don't know whether I will just make this a standalone as it is, maybe with a circular border, or whether I will make this a centerpiece of something bigger. That remains to be seen, but I will be converting these to cross stitch at some point in the future. I don't know when. The next thing I'll be working on starting this week is continuing to work on my Seasons of Lace Spring. I have that about halfway done. That will be released at the end of May because I am using the May NPI Silk Pack from Fat Quarter Shop. So that's why it's not coming out until May. But that's okay. May is still spring, albeit late spring, but it still counts as spring. So that is what I'm going to be working on next here. My iPad's doing something strange. So yeah, I was totally thrilled, and I'm kind of addicted now to see if I can find more of these. I looked on eBay yesterday and I didn't see any, but anyways, and they were only like $25 a piece, so it's not like I spent a huge amount. One of them still has powder in it, the other one is empty. I think they're so pretty. Love, love, love it. Okay. The other goodie I got was this laying tool. I'm going to get my whiteboard so you can see it better. So this was created by, oh look, it just sticks right in there, Maureen Appleton's husband. Here's the stand to go with it. This is pink diamond wood, DYMOND. Now diamond wood, I was familiar with it. You can see the layers of it. I was familiar with it through knitting needles. There was a factory in New England, I want to say Vermont, but I'm not sure, that made this. And there was a knitting needle company called Dyak Needles, D-Y-A-K, knitting needles, that had a huge waiting list, just like any of these other woodworking things that we get for our hobbies, to get these knitting needles. And I never actually signed up for the waiting list, but they were highly coveted in the knitting world. Well, the wood factory burned down, and so all of that went goodbye. Maureen found this chunk of pink diamond wood. I don't know where they found it, and they snatched it up from a woodworker somewhere. And apparently the pink is very rare. All of it's rare now because it's not being made anymore, but the pink was very rare. And I mean, I just love the striations in that. So Maureen and her husband snatched this up. Her husband is a woodworker himself, and he made these laying tools. And the tip on this, I mean, it is sharp. But he made these laying tools and a stand for it. He was only able to make 17. Maureen got one, and then they sold the rest, and I was lucky enough to get one of these. So, love that. Love, love, love it. So that was kind of my fun finds for this week. Other stuff. Somewhere in the wonderful world of Facebook, I think it was Crazy Annie's, advertised that the Just Button Company was having a sale. And I've never really bought anything directly from them before, but I wandered over to their site and bought a few things, one of which was this pack of navy buttons, so I could find some buttons to finish my Stronger Together piece. And I finally did, and yes, I snipped off the balls. I couldn't resist. We're gonna keep going with that. But the other thing I found was this little kit with this little lamb. So it comes with just this felt ball, and these are basically just like little dryer balls, right? The felted dryer balls, and the buttons and the pins. So you stitch the buttons on, you stitch a button on the bottom as the stand, and the little face pin, or the face button, and the little heart tail button, and it's done. And you stick the pins in, and you put it on your shelf to display. How cute is that? I could not resist that. And as soon as it came, I put it together. It's so cute. So cute. So there was that. Speaking of just another button company, I did get my next set of pins from the Fat Quarter Shop Pin Club. And that is, again, hadn't opened it yet, a Tulip for You Penny Mini. So they provide a little pattern in these kits, I guess. So it's a wool applique, little pin cushion, and then the pins to go with. My pins will get stuck up in my pillows up there. I need to get some more pillows made because pretty soon all of my pins are just going to be like bursting with pins. All of my pillows are going to be bursting with pins. Is that what I said? I don't know what I said. I also got my first in this year's Circle of Friends, the Silver Needle Circle of Friends Club. It is Erica Michaels Vintage Garden Smalls. Looks very similar to my little makeup kits here, huh? So the kit comes with everything, right? It has the fabric, it has the directions, of course, it has the finishing fabric, it has the wool to finish the top of the berry, all of the floss, there is a needle minder in it, and this little mesh bag was our goodie this time. And jelly beans, jelly bellies, but those are gone. So I'm thrilled to be part of this club again. Of course, I don't know when I'm going to do this. Like I said, next year may be the year of berries and biscornues. We shall see. Now, I do want to say my year of GSD 2021 and No New Starts 2021. GSD 2021 is, my plans have just been shot to hell. You know, when I get started on stitching up my own designs, I don't do anything else. Again, balance, and I'm trying to find that. But I'm so anxious, especially one, all right, I'm going to say this, especially one that I think is going to be such a hit as Florigraphica. But I think they're all going to be such a hit. Don't we all? So I want to get it done. I need to find balance because I want to get all these other things done too. But I haven't touched Toity in weeks. I had wanted to work on Bayun Cat the first week of April. Didn't touch that. And we're almost at May. Maybe I'll get that out tonight. I want to knit. And I have so many design ideas. Just balance. I should rename 2021, Finding My Balance, FMB. There's another burp, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm taking some supplements because I have some acid reflux problems, and I think they're talking back to me today. Finding FMB, Finding My Balance 2021. Might need to change it to that. Still doing yoga, speaking of balance, pretty much every day. This week has been kind of sketchy because, again, I've been stitching morning, noon, night. But pretty much yoga every day, so I'm finding my balance that way, which is good. Good. All right, other goodies. want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. I did want to say, speaking of knitting and mystery knit-alongs, I'm going to be starting another one. Not just yet. It's pretty much starting when the other one, when the Nights Who Say Knit will be ending. Not that I expect to stay caught up, but you know. Laura Nelkin, for those of you that have been around for a while, you know that Laura Nelkin is my favorite knitwear designer. I have been on multiple retreats and a cruise with her. I consider her a friend. I've done pretty much all of her mystery knit-alongs except her first one. And she hasn't done one in, I think she said 4 years, but she's doing one now and it starts May 12th. I won't be starting it then. I can't. I don't know when I'm going to get over to the storage unit again to pick out my yarn, and this one's going to be a little bit more complicated, but Laura's doing another mystery knit-along and I want to do it. Yeah. Silk. Jan, did you say you got more silk? I did. So, the March silk pack from Fat Quarter Shop is greens. This is actually going to be my summer colors for Seasons in Lace Summer. So stay tuned for that. But this is the NPI greens. Silks, more silks. Okay. This is my Variegated Floss of the Month from, well, let me do this one first. I mentioned in my last video that Vicky Hand Dyed Fibers, Vicky Clayton, was doing a conversion for With Thy Needle and Thread, Carolyn Amelia Trowell. It hadn't released yet. I think it is out now. I haven't gotten it yet. I need to do that. I think it was coming out mid-April. But Vicky does have a conversion pack for that. She has all the colors covered, the multiple colors that you need, the multiple skeins that you need are in here. So I got that. I haven't gotten the pattern yet though. I will. If you are not on Vicky's Facebook group, I highly encourage it. I think I've mentioned before, she does a great job of keeping us informed of what she's doing. She talks a lot about, like when she's working on one of her dyes, one of her dye jobs, whether she considers it successful or not. And she'll show you this pile of silk and she'll tell you which of her solids she brought together to create it. I mean, it's very interesting to hear the dyer's perspective. Plus, you also get first awareness of what she's creating. So this is called Legacy Blue. And I have to say I'm a little confused because it was bluer in the picture. This looks more purpley burgundy to me. It actually makes me think she put the wrong things in the thing, but I'm not sure. I haven't gotten in touch with her yet. She had posted on her Facebook group, she has a color called Legacy Blue. One of her old colors, and what she's doing is recreating. She's having to recreate everything. And over time, the dyes have changed and different things are different enough that she really is, for some of them, having to recreate and try and get the original color, and sometimes she does and sometimes she doesn't. Legacy Blue was one she tried, and her first attempt she thought was too streaky, and so she was going to pitch it. But there was a lot of us that were like, oh my god, I don't care whether it's streaky or not, I love it. So this was, it's what she sent me that she says is Legacy Blue. Like I said, it seems more purpley than the picture that I saw, but it's still awfully pretty. So I'm gonna hold those right there for a second. And then she sent the Variegated Floss of the Month for April, right? We're still in April. And that's what I'm gonna show you next. I get these every month and I go wow, wow, wow every month. This is called Everlasting. This one is, oh, I can't read it, Mountain Shadow. Oh, it's gorgeous. This one, oh my goodness, is called Amber Waves. I should have just guessed that. Look at that. Isn't that cool? That is so pretty. I will be starting to design with her silks, by the way. This one, oh my God. This one's called Paua Abalone. I think that's how I should say it. Paua Abalone. Look at that. Is that not gorgeous? This one is called Midnight Sky. Oh, it's scrumptious. Speaking of purples, I hope you can see the variegations in these. They're beautiful. This one is called, oh, Paper Roses. Oh, look how pretty. This one is Victorian Thistle. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Victorian Mint. Oh, yum, gorgeous. I'll take me a mojito, thank you very much. I should put on my glasses, I know. Brown Rust. Oh, that's pretty. And last but not least, Hibiscus. Look at that. Gorgeous. All right, so eventually I plan on starting to design more with hers and with Mrs. Sada's. You know, as I was stitching Florigraphica, I was like, oh my goodness, this would be beautiful in either of those silks. I wish I had thought of that. But I had developed the palette that I used on that using over-dyed flosses. And like I said, I've had it, I don't know, for a number of months now, and I had to use it. I wanted to point out to you the difference in Vicky's spools. She sells her silks in two ways. I'm going to put that on my pinky. One is single strand and one is 6-stranded. And even though it looks like this has more, they are actually the same amount, but because this is 6-strand, right? You have the 6 strands that you pull apart and use, and this is just a single strand. She sells her variegated of the month and solid of the month in the 6-strand mini spools. Maybe these are the micro spools. I don't remember which is which. I decided to buy, when I buy them individually like this, I have a tendency to get the single strand because usually I am using higher count fabrics, right, that I'm only using a single strand on. So why get the other spools where I have to separate out the strands when I can just get the single strand? I did mention in my yarn calculator section that Vicky is now selling a super fine cotton floss as well. I haven't gotten any of that yet, but it would be good for the higher counts of fabric where the DMC or the cotton floss is, or some of the silks are just getting to be too thick. Think of it as the silks 100/3, you know, the finer silks that people use on the higher counts of fabric. It gives you an alternative if you don't want to use the silks. I cannot tell you what the price differential is, but just know that it's an option. And of course, as I mentioned in the video, it would be an option for back stitching on the higher counts of fabric as well. Okay, on with the show, which means on with the haul. I am still waiting on the rest of my Needlepoint Expo haul to come from Crazy Annie's. She does not ship very fast. I paid for that a while ago. I still haven't gotten it. She said she shipped it out last week, so I hope to get that in this week. I did get this from Fat Quarter Shop. This is one of Jeanette Douglas's releases. Let's do what we love and do it a lot. Okay, I am all in. We should do a stitch along for this, except I don't know when I'm going to do it because no new starts. I'm still trying to stick to that. In fact, I am still sticking to that, except for my own patterns, which I'm starting every couple of weeks anyway. So Yeah. So there's that one. And then I had to order something from somewhere. Oh, I had to order more floss for Florigraphica from Fat Quarter Shop, and I couldn't just have floss, so I ordered this from Madame Chantilly. This is Celebrate Summer, so this is the little tiered tray. I already have spring, so I want to get all the seasons of this because I think these are so cute. So that's summer. Speaking of floss amount, that's something else I meant to mention with Florigraphica. I do have in my pattern the thread usage, and you will see that it states 2 strands. That is 2 strands based on 36 count linen. So you will see that there are a couple colors that, well, at least one color. I think the sage, I needed 2 skeins. Straw Hat, I think I needed to break into the second skein too. So just keep in mind when you're looking at that thread usage and it says 2 strands and this is how much it used, that is based on a 36 count fabric. So, and of course I used 1 strand on 40 count and I still needed a couple skeins. So if you are using a larger count fabric, a larger fabric with 2 strands, you're going to need more than what is stated in that thread usage, okay? Also from Fat Quarter Shop, I am continuing to accumulate the fiber on a whim fabric. This is 40 count Tuscan. This is gorgeous, 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 gorgeous fabric. I also ordered, I'm waiting on, and actually I expect it to be delivered today, one of their new ones, the Fiber on a Whim's new ones that's based on coffee colors. I think it's Afrogata. Fat Quarter Shop is still waiting on the other ones. But isn't that gorgeous? So that is Tuscan, like I said, 40 count. I am finding 40 count, you know, it was that 36 count was my sweet spot. I'm finding more and more that 40 count is becoming my sweet spot. As my eyes get used to it, I'm getting more used to stitching with it, and it's not a challenge at all. And I just use my readers. I don't have any other magnification at this point. My friend Lynn found some other fabric that she wasn't going to use, so she passed it on to me. This is Weeks Dye Works Confederate Gray 30 count. And she had some murky. I've never had any murky before. There's no tag on this. She has some stitches here though that look awfully small. I think this might be a 40 count. It's either 40 or 36, so a fat quarter of murky. Isn't that cool? I haven't the faintest idea what I'll do with this, but I think it's awesome. Yay. I am a floss and fabric junkie. I have one of those under the bed bins. It's actually under the RV bin for my fabric, and it's probably about that, you know, one that's under the bed, right, that high. It's pretty much full. I have my fabric laid out as flat as I can. It's pretty much full. I love fabric. And to prove it, I got some more. So this is a fat quarter of 46 count. I told you, my eyes are getting adjusted. Winter white linen from Seraphim. I've been hearing more and more about Seraphim, and I wanted to get some. And this is the only color they had left. And let me tell you, in this lighting, this would be gorgeous for Florigraphica as well. It seems to me that it has a bit of a pink hue to it, tinge to it. It's gorgeous. It's a beautiful fabric. Now it does look like it's a Zweigart base. Has the orange, but it does feel different. Well, it is 46 count, so it is a little bit finer. It's beautiful. So yeah, I think this would be lovely for Florigraphica. Not that I'm stitching it again. I think it would be lovely for my Seasons in Lace. But actually 46 count won't work. I might have to get some 36 count of this. I got this from Hobby House Needleworks in New York. Someday I'll get to that store. It sounds lovely. The other problem I'm having is with one of the stash unloading sites. You know, on Facebook. You know, once you start looking at stuff on there, Facebook is very accommodating with continuing to let you know when other people have posted stuff. And so when people post albums, it's like, I'm just gonna look. I got this. It's a kit. Isn't that wonderful? So it has the fabric, the floss, it even has the piping for the bell pull to finish the bell pull. I will not be using the Ada that came in it. I'll be using something different. So eventually I'll be giving away the Ada. I think this is awesome. It reminds me very much of where I grew up in Pennsylvania, in Western Pennsylvania. So I got that. I also have something else coming from another seller on Stash Unloading. I blame it on the fact that I left cross stitch for a while, and I feel like there's things that yeah, I missed. So I have to make up for that. I also got from my dear friend Teal. Now Teal lives in Indiana, Illinois. Did I get that right, Teal? I even looked at your address to be sure, and you know it's gone because it's been 10 minutes. Teal has a greenhouse in her backyard, and she's been telling me about her bananas for a while now. Hold please. Teal sent me bananas. There's more up there. I have them in my little fruit basket with my apples to help them ripen. Look how cute! Teal said, what'd you say in the card? She said, I bet you're the first floss tuber to get bananas in the mail from a viewer. I don't know. She says it's bananas. How awesome is that? Teal sent me bananas. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, guys. I wanted to share what we are at the giveaway part of the show. So I will announce the ones from the last video, and I have a whole stack of giveaways for this one. I wanted to share a comment though from one of you. I didn't write down the name. This was too rich not to share. Every floss tuber I watch enables me to buy some patterns, but with you, it's different. I bought a camper because of you. How is that for enabling? I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Let's see. Okay. Okay, last week's. Let me grab these. I think this is last week's. Yes. Okay. Stitch cards are farm animals. It seems like forever since I talked about these. Loretta Henderson wins these. Yay, Loretta. Let's see, Stitchy Stars. This goes to Kimberly Hamilton. Yay, Kimberly. And last but not least, our Prim and Cheerful, or our Prim Stitch Series Welcoming and Cheerful. This goes to Linda Spost. S-P-O-S-T. I don't know whether I pronounced that right, Linda. So I haven't worked on that, well, in 2 weeks. I have to get caught up. I'm very much behind. So, as always, I will be commenting on your comments. Hopefully, I will not go brain dead and forget, because that happens. I will be commenting on your comments. Don't say, I will... Yeah. And you will email me your address so I can get those things in the mail. Oh my God, I just jumped ahead. There's something else I wanted to say, and it had something to do with enabling and comments, and now I don't remember. Okay, goodies for this week. They finally have the floss packs up for the Earth Laughs on Fat Quarter Shop. That will be linked below. And they sent me, of course, a bunch to give away because they are generous. Speaking of which, Florigraphica will be up on there on the Fat Quarter Shop at some point today as well. So Fat Quarter Shop, my website, Etsy, and eventually Silk. So many places to get it. Okay, giveaways. Let me see what I'm doing. Okay, so I have, if you recall, I got fabric, right, to give away for when I got the floss pack. So this is for my design, the Earth Laughs, the Cosmo design. So this is Color and Cotton's bisque and a set of the floss. Now, again, they just provided single skeins of the floss in the floss pack. You will need at least another one of the brown and possibly another one of the greens. I forget which. You'll get the pattern as well, so you'll be able to look in the pattern. So one winner is going to get floss, fabric, and pattern. Another winner is going to get floss, fabric, and pattern. And both of these fabrics are 14 count. Yeah, both 8 of 14 count. And then 3 more people are going to get floss and pattern. And then, no, wait, I'll tell you what to say in a second. Oh no, that's one thing. Okay, so if you are interested in winning that, I want you to tell me what your favorite flower is and why. You have to say favorite, because favorite is what I will be drawing on. Now, if for some reason you want to just win the floss pack and not one of the packs with the floss and the fabric, state that. But I want to know what your favorite flower is and why. And then the other giveaway is, again, generous Fat Quarter Shop. Now, you may know that they are doing this as a stitch along. It has started already. Sorry, I'm late. Flea Market Flowers. This is such a pretty pattern. I was so tempted to do this. The fabric and the DMC floss pack. So this is a second giveaway. And for this, I want you to tell me, do you like to go to flea markets and thrift stores? And if you do, what do you look for? Inquiring minds want to know, because I love it. What do you look for if you go? If you answer, if you're interested in this, please be sure to use the word market. I go to the flea market to look for blah, blah, blah. Or I don't go to flea markets. All right, those are this week's giveaways. And yeah, these are open to everybody. Although I have to tell you, so I usually send my stuff out and do my shipping and shipping labels through PayPal. And PayPal has the ability, whether you've bought something, whether I'm invoicing you or not, even without an invoice, I can create a shipping label. And I've been able to ship internationally via that since I've been doing this, right? I went to do it to ship my stuff from, I don't know, a couple videos ago, and there was some kind of glitch with the international. It would not let me complete the process. So I think I was shipping to the UK. Yes, Mel Patton. I was shipping to Mel Patton. And I took it to one of these local parcel post, mail packaging businesses. And I think he must have thought Mike was shipping something else by FedEx, so he did his first. And I think he must have thought I wanted to ship this little, it was just a pattern. It was just a pattern by FedEx. He quoted me $62. I was like, oh, I don't think so. This person isn't getting this if it's going to cost me $62. I'm like, what service are you using? We got that straightened out. It still was more than I wanted to spend, but that's okay. I'm going to ship these to you anywhere. I think that's everything. Yeah, I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed our time together. Oh, I have an angel card. Of course I do. All right, here's our little angel today. God created you with special talents and gifts. Embrace your uniqueness. You are extraordinary. You are extraordinary. We're living in extraordinary times. We've got this. Embrace your uniqueness. Be you. Do not be afraid to be you. And Jan, find your balance. Now, I'm back to the beginning. So I have gone through all of the cards in the deck. Do you want me to continue? Do you want me to start through again? I'm willing. I don't see why not. But let me know. I don't think any of you are going to say, oh, I am so over these angel cards. But just in case, let me know. And we'll start again. Because I don't really remember what I wrote. I don't remember what I read last week. 2 weeks ago, I guess. Let alone however many weeks ago. All right, I think I went through all of my piles. I am sure I forgot to tell you something. But I'll be back. I hope to have another big announcement for you in the not too distant future. Plans, like I said, Seasons in Lace Spring. I'm planning on getting that finished designing in the next week. Start stitching on that. Get back to hoity-toity, get Bayou and Cat done, get my knitting done, find my balance. It's just not enough hours in the day. All right, guys. Oh, no Stitch Mania for me this year. I am going to enjoy watching all of you. One of you, though, on Instagram said, oh, Florigraphica, I'm going to get that. That would be a great Stitch Mania start. There you go. How many of you are going to start Stitch Mania? Are going to stitch Florigraphica for Stitch Mania? That even rhymes, kind of, sort of. I'm going to stop now because I'm babbling. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.